Welcome back to Newsmax Now. Topping your headlines today, President Obama commuting the sentence of 61 people serving years in prison under outdated and unduly harsh sentencing laws. According to him, more than one-third of them were serving life sentences. To date, the president has reduced the sentences of some 248 individuals, more than the previous 6 presidents combined. City officials say they intend to treat Flint's drinking water with anti-corrosive chemicals after a switch to the Flint River, but it was overruled by a state regulator. 2 Minnesota police officers will not be charged in the fatal shooting of a black man last November. A 4-month investigation showed that Jamar Clark was not handcuffed at any time during that struggle. Clark reached for an officer's weapon, according to the investigation. A California judge delays Bill Cosby's deposition in a sex abuse lawsuit. The judge agreed with Cosby's attorneys that the deposition would interfere with a criminal case against Cosby in Pennsylvania. And a U.S. woman pleads guilty to terrorism charges. Jalen Young, a 20-year-old woman from Mississippi, was arrested in August of last year while attempting to board a flight to Turkey with her husband. She admitted she planned the trip in a farewell letter. Her Twitter post about her desire to join ISIS caught the attention of the FBI. And a laptop used by one of the Brussels bombers contained images of the Belgian Prime Minister's home and office. That laptop was found near a hideout of one of the suspects. Security around the Prime Minister has now been increased since the November attacks in Paris and the latest attack in Brussels last week. And several female members of the media are now calling on Donald Trump to fire his campaign manager, Cory Lewandowski. Jupiter police in Florida arrested Lewandowski yesterday after he turned himself in on battery charges. He's accused of grabbing former Breitbart reporter Michelle Fields in this video you see right here at a Trump event last month. After the event, Fields tweeted these pictures of bruises she says she received from Lewandowski. He denied the whole thing ever happened, said he never met her, said she was delusional. The video shows he did, though, but to what extent? Trump is defending his campaign manager, and he did so earlier today in Wisconsin.
Oh, if she really did go down, if he did something like that, he would have been fired before she ever got up.
Well, Fields said she never was actually knocked down. She said she was jolted backwards and almost lost her balance. Lewandowski again denies the accusation. Trump says he will enter a not guilty plea if and when he makes a court appearance. Let's bring in today's roundtable to talk about this. Joining us right now on the set, criminal defense attorney Cory Strolla. You may recognize him from an HBO documentary. He represented Michael Dunn in his first trial, which resulted in a hung jury, which was on the stand your ground law. Tragic case nonetheless. Also with us, Sam Nunberg, who was a former political advisor to Donald Trump. No longer advising Donald Trump, though. Good to have you with us, gentlemen.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Sam, first to you. I want you to talk to us about what you know about Cory Lewandowski, if you think this type of behavior goes along with the guy that you know.
Well, I wouldn't say it necessarily goes along with the guy I know, but what I would say, John, is that if this happened with any other staffer, anybody else on the campaign, Cory Lewandowski would be the first one to fire that person. And the issue isn't whether Donald Trump should fire Cory Lewandowski. The issue really is, why didn't Cory Lewandowski resign yesterday? You know, Donald is trying to take over the Republican Party and be the nominee of a $1.5 billion organization. You explain to me how major donors and the party should be confident in him facing Hillary when his campaign manager has battery charges filed against him by a female reporter.
Yeah, I think, there's pretty much no precedent for this, but you're right. You saw what happened with Ted Cruz's communications director. A little scandal surrounded that. Boom, he was gone. Now, Cory, I want to talk about the legality of this. You have represented clients, defended them under the Stand Your Ground statute in Florida, which has received a lot of criticism from around the country. But you don't think there's actually, it doesn't meet the threshold for criminal charges here?
Based on what I saw, and the nice thing about this case is there's a video. Normally in courts, it's a he said, she said, or either way. You get somebody who makes a criminal accusation, they talk to an officer, and then the officer has to actually make a judgment call based on who he may or may not believe. And a lot of times those cases may or may not even get prosecuted down the road with the state attorney's office. And the one thing I noticed that Sam said about the criminal charges, again, the greatest thing about this country, regardless of Democrat or Republican, is an accusation is only that, an accusation. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. You know, I understand he thinks that he should have resigned. I don't agree, but that's my opinion versus his opinion, and that's fine. But under the law, if you don't meet the threshold of a criminal offense, formal charges should not even be filed. And at this point,
But he may very well reach this threshold. It's simple battery.
and
it's
I
not
understand
regular
that.
battery.
And I apologize for interrupting, but a simple battery is just that. It's an unintentional touching of
Right.
another.
According to Florida law,
Sure.
if basically you didn't ask me to touch you, so I'm guilty of simple battery in this case. Or
Under
maybe
the-
I don't want to
no, that's
make
okay.
myself.
No, and under the black and white letter law, that's exactly what it reads. But we also have self-defense of others in the state of Florida and around the nation. And in what I've seen from the video and what I think the defense may be or should be is that, yes, he might have grabbed her arm, but if he grabbed her arm only in an attempt to remove her from technically battering Mr. Trump. So at this point, if you really wanted to talk about political theater, why are the police not looking at charging her with battering Mr. Trump? Because nowhere in that video
Oh,
do
that's
I see him
absolutely
consenting.
ridiculous.
Well, that's what Trump is. That's what Trump is.
absolutely
But it's the law.
ridiculous.
If you
it's
wanna look
absolutely
at simple
ridiculous for
battery,
you to
it's
say
still
that.
the law.
And,
That's
what
you know
I'm
what?
saying.
And by the way,
Sure,
you may
Sam.
be a Trump supporter. I could tell you, if you're a Trump supporter, you would want Donald to fire him. He's costing Donald votes and support by the day. Not only that, by the way, let's get on to another subject. He's a complete incompetent. Donald is losing delegates by the day. Donald is losing delegates at conventions because Cory hasn't organized properly. Donald has had many problems behind the campaign. So if you'd like to give, sir, some kind of lecture and give out your defense and maybe give out your legal card, that's fine. I'm talking about politically. And if you're a Trump supporter, then you would want him gone. Look, this is great for Hillary Clinton. If I'm Hillary Clinton, I hold a press conference in front of Trump Tower with Michelle Fields. If I'm Gloria Allred, I get Michelle Fields as a client. And I make this a recurring issue. If you think Donald Trump can be the nominee of a party when he's about to face the first woman nominee of a major party, and gender identity politics will be a major issue. That's the reality. And he can have a campaign manager who defamed this woman, who attacked her, I'm talking about on Twitter, things like that, called her a liar. Then he has these charges put out against him. If you think that some sideshow like that will lead to a victory, which is what we all want, or I want as a Republican, then I don't know which party. I mean, maybe you actually support Hillary Clinton.
Well, Sam, I'll jump in here on behalf
sense.
of Cory. I've known him for a long time. I've known you for a long time. I can confidently say, Cory, you're not a Donald Trump supporter.
Well, at this point, I can tell you I'm not a Hillary fan, I'm not a Bernie fan, and I'm not any fan right now of anyone who does commit crimes or allows their staff to commit crimes. And if you want to go off on a tangent, we can talk about the MoveOn.org, where Bernie supporters are actually violating constitutional rights of freedom of speech and creating violent protests, which then
And
they
I
turn
agree
around
with
and
you.
blame somebody else. On a different topic,
I agree
Right.
with you 100%.
right, and I'll tell you this, I do like Trump in the sense that I think he does stand his ground, no pun intended, but I think why he identifies with a lot of people is he gives a narrative that a lot of people haven't heard before. He's not that establishment. So I think, and not to get into too much of a political tangent.
We gotta wrap it up here.
Yeah, but the establishment is exactly what is fighting for this to happen to Mr. Trump. And the ones that are anti-establishment, like Sam said, are actually rooting for Mr. Trump. And again, it becomes political theater of
right.
how Hillary's going to respond.
Well, this is an interesting look at the legality and the political nature of this. Cory, thanks for coming in. We really
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Sam, stick around. We're going to keep talking about
Thank you.
some of those missteps that Lewandowski might be making out on the campaign trail and this issue with these loyalty pledges. We got more coming up here on Newsmax Now. Stick around. And plus, what do you think about that British man taking a selfie with the hijacker? Bad idea? Good idea? Maybe the smile wasn't the best idea. We got more coming up. Stick around.